On that day, Suguto reached out, forming a partnership with Lori, aiming to grow stronger together. Lori accepted quietly, clasping his hand, deciding to rely on him while pursuing shared strength. Days earlier, a rough man confronted Suguto on a train, creating tension and testing his composure. Suguto remained seated, reflecting on growth and understanding the weight of his previous weaknesses. Now, he faced challenges with resolve. Suguto weighed his choices, deciding to avoid conflict, believing submission would keep things under control, throwing him off balance as confusion spread among the passengers. Impact followed, leaving him battered on the ground while others stared in shock at his fragile state. Blood seeped from his body as he lay motionless, the consequences of that moment unfolding without mercy. Darkness crept in, his senses fading, the cold realization settling as everything slowed to silence. Suguto lay broken, barely conscious, while the man nearby reacted with shallow concern. Moments later, that same man smiled and began recording, treating the situation as entertainment rather than tragedy. Seeing this, Suguto realized he was being filmed while dying, his condition reduced to a spectacle, forcing his body to move as he resisted the humiliation and refused to accept death quietly. Regret, anger, and violent intent filled his fading thoughts. Fury consumed Suguto as he glared, his hatred peaking while life slipped away. Even as breathing failed, his awareness lingered in an empty, fading space. Darkness shifted into a vast cavern, his body lying distant within an unfamiliar void. Suddenly, sensation returned, and he rose in confusion, realizing he could move again. Looking down, he noticed a clean uniform, questioning this strange return to life. Noticing his injuries had vanished while his memory remained unchanged. Confusion deepened as he questioned reality, sensing the ground and air felt too real to be a dream. Exploring further, he stood within a vast cave, wondering if his survival meant something had intervened. Touching the walls, he examined the surroundings until a man with tools appeared nearby. Cautiously, Suguto approached, deciding to speak with the stranger, despite the unease. The man studied Suguto closely, noticing his unusual eyes while showing clear suspicion. Questioning where he was, uncertain if this place even belonged to Japan, without welcoming him, the man dismissed his presence, treating him as an outsider with no importance. Irritation grew as the man warned him to wait or leave, asserting control over the situation. Silence followed while the man resumed working, leaving to Suguto observing and reconsidering his next move. Confusion lingered as Suguto questioned his situation, unable to grasp what was happening. Observing the man, he realized the language was foreign, yet somehow he could understand its meaning. Turning away, he searched for an exit, deciding to leave and learn more about this place. He noticed blue stones, considering their value and taking a few with him. Soon after, figures appeared ahead, forcing him to stop and assess the new threat. Suguto noticed them carrying heavy loads and chose to follow their path. Light poured from ahead, forcing him to shield his eyes as he moved closer to the exit. Stepping outside, he emerged between armed figures, their presence hinting at danger and control. Beyond them, a large settlement appeared, filled with unfamiliar people and structures unlike modern Japan. Observing closely, he realized their appearance and clothing resembled something from a distant, older era. Noticing armed individuals, Suguto realized they carried swords. Watching them move, he compared their appearance to adventurers, questioning if they served as guards. Behind him, a small horned girl approached quietly, stopping close without drawing attention. Their eyes met briefly, creating a silent moment of awareness between them. Looking ahead again, Suguto saw a long line of people. Understanding this place followed unfamiliar rules. Hesitating near the line, Suguto paused, sensing something unusual and lifting his gaze upward. Above him, towering structures pierced the sky, their scale far beyond anything he had known. Understanding dawned slowly, as he realized this place was not Earth and his past knowledge no longer applied. Inside a dim mine, Suguto swings a pickaxe among silent workers. Her gaze stays fixed on him as the sound of mining echoes, marking the strange beginning of their connection. Later, he looks over a village below, realizing this world is not Earth. A young vendor notices him from a nearby stall, observing his distant expression. Soon, the vendor approaches and explains magical ores, hinting at the unusual nature of this place. Information about dungeons and adventurers fills his mind as he listens carefully. Sudden images of battles and creatures flash through his thoughts, explaining it as a magical ore while he studies it with cautious curiosity. Value becomes clearer as the ore's worth is described, making him consider its usefulness. Reality settles in when its price proves disappointingly low, leaving him quietly processing the situation. Prompting recognition as a rare ether crystal, shifting the vendor's attention immediately. Excitement rises as its high value and rarity are explained, far surpassing ordinary magical ores. Currency details become clear while he exchanges it, gaining enough to understand basic prices and food costs. Concern grows when he realizes he lacks a safe place to stay. After hearing lodging costs, urgency sets in, pushing him to plan earning money through mining. Determination sharpens within him as he decides to prove his worth. Without delay, he rushes back toward the dungeon, driven by urgency to gather as many ores as possible. His efforts bring almost nothing, leaving frustration and doubt growing steadily. A sudden interruption occurs as someone steps close, offering unexpected help. The horned girl appears and points out a specific spot, guiding him toward a better chance at success. The horned girl calmly confirms her guidance, while he reacts with confusion. He studies her appearance, noticing her unusual features, and realizing she is not an ordinary child. She points at a wall, insisting it is worth digging despite his doubts about its condition. Skepticism grows as he questions her claim. Unable to see any remaining traces of ore, frustration takes over, and he rejects her explanation, convinced her words make no sense, urging him to dig while pointing toward a specific spot with quiet confidence. A stone appears instantly, surprising him as she presents the result without hesitation. Continued swings produce more ores, proving her guidance correct, and steadily breaking his disbelief. Realization settles in, leading him to admit his mistake while she remains composed. Understanding deepens as he learns the dungeon restores its walls, explaining the hidden resources. She explains calmly that while walls restore quickly, magical ores take longer, making good finds rare. Understanding grows as he observes the crowded mine, realizing experienced miners leave certain areas untouched, showing steady progress and giving him hope for earning enough. Gratitude follows as he thanks her, and she finally shares her name. He introduces himself and questions her motives, wondering why she chose to help him specifically. She quietly admits her concern, revealing a simple reason behind her earlier actions. Relief spreads across him, and he expresses gratitude with a lighter, more genuine attitude. A subtle reaction follows as she listens, her calm demeanor unchanged despite his praise. Misunderstanding arises when he comments on her appearance, causing mild irritation that he quickly tries to correct. The moment settles, and they return to their task, preparing to exchange the ores together. A group of rough figures enters the area, drawing attention as tension rises among the miners. She identifies the leader as a dangerous man, and he watches closely, sensing trouble ahead. The man moves through the crowd, taking from others without resistance. Observation reveals that no one challenges him, suggesting fear or forced obedience among the workers. A shift forms within him as he considers stepping forward, questioning his own decision. Memories surface as he recalls his past mistakes, realizing how fear once led him to a meaningless death. Regret deepens while he reflects on his weakness, questioning whether he has the right to judge others now. Conflicted thoughts linger, leaving him searching for a reason behind his second chance. Tension returns when the group confronts them, demanding control over their fate. She firmly rejects their claim, exposing the unfairness behind their actions. The group demands the ores aggressively, but she refuses, standing firm despite the growing pressure. Their leader lashes out, moving to strike her as tension erupts in the cramped space. Violence breaks loose as he steps forward, interrupting the attack and drawing everyone's attention. A strange intensity gathers within him, his stance shifting as something awakens. Dark resolve settles over him, signaling the beginning of a dangerous confrontation. The horned girl watches quietly, her expression steady as the tension from earlier lingers around them. A calm gaze follows, showing no fear, only quiet awareness of the situation unfolding nearby. Subtle emotion appears as she relaxes slightly, her usual composure returning after the conflict. Nearby he observes her small reactions, beginning to understand her nature more clearly. A tense standoff forms in a rocky passage, as Suguto faces an armed man. Behind him, 3 enemies gather with drawn swords, while the small girl calculates their chances and prepares for the worst outcome, demanding the stones with force, pressing their advantage without hesitation. Gripping her weapon while Suguto feels disgust at his own hesitation. Finally, tension breaks when Suguto responds coldly, revealing confidence as he confronts them without fear. Recognition spreads among the enemies as they realize Suguto is tagless. Meanwhile, tension rises within the group as hesitation appears. Across the distance, Suguto stands alone, calmly questioning the situation while the opposing leader approaches with confidence. Memories of failure and death surface, yet Suguto dismisses fear, accepting the outcome without regret. Suddenly, the enemy charges forward, deciding to strike, turning the standoff into a violent clash. A sudden burst of movement cuts through the air as Suguto reacts. She joins the clash, forcing the enemies back as their coordination disrupts the assault. Momentum shifts quickly when a heavy blow lands, sending the girl crashing to the ground under overwhelming force. Pain follows as another strike hits her midair, leaving her injured and unable to recover her footing. Silence falls briefly as she lies motionless, while Suguto rushes forward, blood staining her face, while Suguto kneels beside her as darkness begins to rise around him. Nearby, the enemy mocks weakness, approaching slowly as Suguto remains silent. A pair of ominous eyes emerge within the darkness, reflecting a shift in Suguto's state. Fear spreads across the attacker's face as killing intent, rage, and remorse press down on him. Then Suguto stands alone in silence, consumed by a deep, focused darkness. A dark realization settles over Suguto, as the power within him reveals itself as something cursed and overwhelming. Fear takes hold of the enemy, forcing him back as he senses the danger behind those eyes. A terrifying force erupts, striking him down as the presence behind Suguto crushes all resistance. The battlefield falls quiet as the remaining enemies flee, leaving Suguto alone beside the fallen girl. Offering aid while the lingering darkness slowly fades, the girl regains consciousness in a cluttered shop as Suguto checks her condition, while the old woman watches closely. Though Suguto continues observing her for any lingering pain, soon, they learn they were brought there for treatment, with the shopkeeper explaining the situation behind their rescue. Gratitude is expressed as the girl recovers, though Suguto remains cautious about the cost of her healing, forcing them to leave quickly with limited money remaining. Night falls as Suguto and the girl stand in the quiet town. She admits she has no home and doesn't know her parents, leaving Suguto uncertain about their next move, especially with little money, while her lodging lies deep within a dungeon. Guilt surfaces as she apologizes for the cost of medicine, knowing it burdened him. Without hesitation, she offers her remaining coins, trying to repay what she can. Realizing it may barely cover lodging while the girl quietly acknowledges his constant help. A calm night settles over the town as she lightly remarks, creating a brief moment of ease between them. Elsewhere, Daniel lashes out in frustration, pushing someone away as his emotions spiral out of control. Anger consumes him, leaving him hunched and shaken. Finally, his status reveals a cursed condition, explaining the instability driving his actions. Danault's status confirms the curse, his eyes trembling as the abnormal loss of strength becomes undeniable. Fear and anger mix within him as he realizes the damage done, forcing himself to act despite the risk. Elsewhere, morning light reaches a quiet room where Suguto rests after the long night. A soft movement wakes him as he senses something unusual beside him. Surprised, he finds the girl sleeping close, her presence unexpected yet peaceful. A sign marked Dragon's Den Stop hangs near a tall tower. Inside a quiet room, the boy wakes with a headache, while the girl rests on a separate bed behind him. Soon, she moves close and falls asleep against him, leaving him tense and unsure. Later, they arrive at the inn entrance and encounter a large, intimidating man. He leads them inside and firmly explains the strict rules of the dining hall. The stern man provides light sticks, explaining they produce heat for bathing. Curious, the girl examines them closely and realizes they contain magical ore that creates hot water back in the room. A lamp glows as the boy prepares to test the strange item. After placing it in water, warmth spreads, and he understands its simple function. Later, they eat, rest quietly, and adjust to the unfamiliar rules of this world. Night passes quietly, and the boy eventually falls asleep in the small room. Morning arrives with washed clothes drying, while the girl clings to him, still half asleep. After waking, he helps her dress, and they exchange a calm morning moment. Noticing a metal plate around her neck, he studies it with growing curiosity. Realization follows as its meaning becomes clear, leaving her uneasy while he reflects on the situation. They arrive before a grand building, realizing it is the Adventurers Guild. The boy recalls being called tagless and begins to understand its meaning. Doubt grows as he questions how others noticed his missing tag so easily. Inside, a receptionist greets them and recognizes their situation immediately. Instead of requesting a replacement, he explains their case, leaving her surprised as the girl quietly confirms beside him. At the counter, the receptionist prepares a tag and asks him to place it in his hand. Following her instructions, he grips it while she calmly tells him to wait. Time passes slowly as they remain seated, unsure of what is happening. Suddenly, the process completes, and the system confirms his registration. Information panels appear around him, revealing his status and abilities. As he reacts in shock, panels appear before him, and the receptionist confirms his successful registration while explaining the visible details. Carefully observing, he reviews his status, noticing his abilities, limits, and a strange cursed condition, looking down. He sees his name engraved on the tag for the first time. Guidance follows as she explains how to equip the tag to access its function. Further explanation reveals artifacts, mana flow, and how energy fills the tag during activation. The boy studies his MP value and learns the system adds extra capacity through the tag. Confusion follows as he questions the strange negative modifier, leaving the receptionist uncertain. She explains abnormal conditions appear in the status field, listing possible harmful effects. A clear label appears, showing he carries a cursed status, deepening his concern. Hesitation grows as he avoids asking directly. While she prepares to reveal an important detail, the receptionist asks him to focus, drawing his attention to her presence and calming his thoughts. A window appears, revealing her name and role, introducing her as Surya. She explains the tag's function, allowing users to identify others through focused awareness. Further details reveal the danger of red names, marking those who kill as targets. Understanding deepens as he realizes the system reduces risk, though danger still remains. The girl suggests he register as an adventurer, while he reflects on the danger he recently faced. Surprise follows as she reveals she already knew his intention to register. Before he can respond, the receptionist moves ahead and begins preparing the paperwork. Later, they sit in the dining hall, quietly eating as the place fills with others. A reminder returns, making him realize the importance of having a tag in this world. The boy reflects on the innkeeper's cautious behavior, realizing it may be due to suspicion toward tagless travelers. During the meal, he notices the girl avoiding meat while giving a simple explanation. Observation continues as she quietly shifts unwanted food toward him. Whenever he looks away, he takes the meat and replaces it with something easier for her. Curiosity remains as he questions her reason for wanting him to become an adventurer. The girl admits her reason, revealing she wants him to become an adventurer. However, she explains she cannot join him due to her current status. Through the name window, he confirms she is labeled as a slave. Details emerge about her debt, preventing her from acting freely until it is repaid. Understanding her wish, he realizes she hopes to work together so both can survive and earn. The girl expresses her desire clearly, wanting to grow stronger and improve her level. The meaning of level is explained as a measure of one's spiritual strength and existence. Hearing this, the boy reflects and feels a similar desire, forming within himself. Despite understanding the risks, he questions why the feeling grows stronger than his past goals. Facing her, he quietly considers her reason and the meaning behind becoming stronger. The girl declares her resolve, determined to grow stronger and defeat those who wronged her. Hearing this, the boy bursts into laughter, caught off guard by her boldness. Her simple words carry truth, leaving a deeper impression despite their bluntness. Memories surface as he recalls his own weakness and inability to act before. Facing her again, he recognizes that she sees through him more clearly than anyone else. The boy admits his desire to grow stronger, aligning his resolve with the girl's determination. With a steady expression, he decides to form a partnership and move forward together. She accepts, and their hands meet, marking the start of their bond. Overlooking the vast town, both step toward a shared future, ready to face challenges side by side. A girl declared their partnership and requested to see Suguto's status. He revealed himself as a weak adventurer, yet marked by a cursed evil eye. The girl reacted with excitement, recognizing the rare and dangerous ability, despite his limits. Information about curses showed risk, with purification uncertain and possibly fatal. They moved forward, considering that defeating the source might be the only solution. Lori revealed her status, showing strong abilities and many skills. Despite her young age, Suguto noticed her high willpower and realized she surpassed him in several aspects. They entered a cave, preparing themselves to hunt monsters together. The plan shifted toward gathering resources first, focusing on basic survival needs. Lori questioned the delay, while Suguto insisted preparation was necessary before taking risks. They trained steadily, but progress remained slow while saving money and gathering supplies. Lori grew frustrated, warning that danger would not wait for them to improve. Suguto considered stronger enemies deeper inside, realizing their current pace was insufficient. Explained her detection skill and the dungeon's low-level threats, offering a safer approach. They formed a plan to locate small groups and eliminate them carefully using her ability. Suguto accepted the plan, deciding to enter the dungeon despite his hesitation. Inside, the cave quickly turned into a confusing maze, making navigation difficult. They explored deeper and discovered a suspicious path known as the garbage hole. A sudden collapse revealed a massive pit, showing it was a deadly trap used by adventurers. Standing at the edge, Suguto looked down, unable to see the bottom of the abyss. They chose another path, aware that getting lost was still a real risk. Lori sensed a monster ahead, while Tsuguto struggled to react under pressure. She rushed forward to attack, but panic made her movements uncontrolled. Confusion spread between them, leaving both unable to act properly. A goblin suddenly appeared at close range, forcing them into immediate danger. A goblin charged toward them, its appearance confirming the threat Lori detected. Tsuguto reacted quickly, raising his weapon with no time to hesitate. He threw the pickaxe forward, aiming to stop the creature's advance. The strike landed heavily, knocking the goblin down and ending the attack. After the impact, blue blood spilled, leaving Tsuguto stunned by the result. Goblin suddenly lunged back, grabbing Tsuguto and biting down as he lost balance. Lori reacted immediately, striking the creature to force it away from him. She continued attacking, pushing the goblin back with repeated blows. Despite her effort, the damage seemed insufficient, and Tsuguto realized her strength was lacking. Lori pressed on regardless, delivering a final strike to finish the weakened enemy. She struck precisely, piercing the goblin's left eye and disrupting its movement. Taking the opening, Tsuguto attacked the other side, aiming for the right eye to finish it. The creature collapsed, and as the fight ended, Tsuguto's experience increased, raising his level. He examined his new stats, noticing clear improvements compared to before. Testing his weapon again, Tsuguto steadied himself, beginning to understand his growing strength. Tsuguto noticed his weapon felt lighter, realizing his increased strength had changed its handling. Lori lifted her shovel proudly, standing confidently after the battle. He observed her pose, recognizing her excitement and unusual confidence. Both confirmed their level increase, acknowledging their small progress inside the dungeon. Afterward, Tsuguto explained they should collect parts from the goblin, preparing for their next steps carefully. Tsuguto checked their earnings, confirming they gained a small amount after the hunt. Lori showed dissatisfaction, realizing they should have explored deeper for better results. He explained their cautious approach, mentioning the risks and the need to retreat safely. They decided to stop for the day and divide the money before leaving. While heading back, Lori reflected on rules about trade, quietly thinking about restrictions placed on her. They returned to town and met a merchant named Rail, who welcomed them warmly. Tsuguto introduced Lori and requested simple supplies from the shop. He handed her food, encouraging her to prepare for a deeper journey ahead. Lori accepted the gift quietly, showing a small sign of appreciation. As they left, Tsuguto explained the purchase workaround, allowing her to receive items despite restrictions. Rail explained the market rules, while Tsuguto realized his earlier assumption had been mistaken. Lori held the food close, quietly pleased, and valuing what she received. Elsewhere in town, concern arose as someone noticed unusual behavior and called for Danalt. A tense encounter followed, hinting at suspicion and conflict building around Tsuguto. Knight prepared for action, determined to hunt down a target connected to the situation. A quiet valley surrounds them as the girl studies his face, sensing tension. Silence lingers while he avoids speaking, and she observes his withdrawn state. Thoughts shift toward a nearby dungeon, where low-class monsters await. Inside, he confronts a giant rat and strikes it down with force. After the fight, his strength rises, while the girl notices something near his feet. The girl notices his shoes have changed, prompting him to recall where he got them. At a shop, a merchant shows interest in the unusual sneakers, recognizing their rarity. Instead of selling, he offers them in exchange, surprising the merchant. The new boots reveal strong properties, enhanced further by his abilities. Later, he reviews his improved equipment, realizing his progress, while the girl questions his growth. They enter the cave with a plan, relying on her detection while he prepares to act. Caution rises as he senses danger and signals her to step back. Moments later, a massive spider appears above, confirming her warning. The creature lunges suddenly, leaving little time to react. Seeing the attack closing in, he rushes forward, realizing he may not reach her in time. The spider crashes down violently, striking the ground as she is caught in the impact. Blood spreads across its body, and its movement slows while he watches in shock. Despite her injuries, she grips her shovel and drives it into the creature. Rage pushes him forward as he attacks, drawing the monster's attention away. With a final strike, the spider collapses, and her strength increases, despite her condition. After the battle, she assumes his silence comes from frustration over her mistake. He gently reassures her, showing no anger while reflecting on the situation. A shift in mood follows as he comforts her, and she responds with quiet attachment. Serious thoughts return as he reviews their plan and the danger they faced. He realizes his oversight, understanding the enemy avoided detection and exploited their reliance. They decide to stop early and prepare better, considering the risks they overlooked. Concern appears as he warns her not to hunt alone despite gaining strength. She refuses firmly, then watches him leave while holding her resolve. Determination drives her to train alone, digging stones to test her growing power. A quiet goal forms in her mind, hoping to repay her debt and reunite with him. She happily sorts gathered stones, enjoying the results of her effort. Elsewhere, armored men move with purpose, hinting at rising tension. At a shop, he judges the cost of supplies, realizing the burden. The merchant stands firm on pricing while he proceeds with the purchase. Calculations follow, as he reviews rewards and materials, understanding their limited resources. He asks for a discount, but the merchant reacts sharply to his request. Calmly, he explains the danger she faced, stressing the need for supplies. His persistence shifts the mood as the merchant begins to reconsider. In the end, he secures the potions at a lower price and leaves satisfied. While walking away, he considers buying something small for her despite limited money. Inside the cave, she continues gathering stones while others approach from a distance. A knight confronts her directly, showing no interest in her work. Recognition follows as he connects her to someone he seeks. His expression hardens, revealing clear hostility and intent. Tension rises as he advances, leaving her alert and unsure how to respond. He attacks suddenly, but she evades quickly and refuses to answer his demand. Thrown aside, she protects what she carries while searching for an opening. The man presses harder, threatening her as she remains silent. Resistance continues despite fear, her refusal growing stronger under pressure. Elsewhere, he remains unaware, calmly spending time while the danger unfolds. He examines unfamiliar fruit, unaware that she lies injured far away. Moments later, a brutal event unfolds inside a deadly cavern as her body is dragged toward danger. Falling deeper, she is thrown into the abyss, leaving her fate uncertain within the pit. A boy dreamed of becoming a great adventurer and trained daily with strong resolve. Time passed, and he gained trusted companions who fought and grew alongside him. Suddenly, a monstrous cyclops appeared, shattering the future he once imagined. The creature revealed overwhelming strength, dwarfing their efforts and turning the battle hopeless. Soon after, the warrior was torn apart, and even the archer's body collapsed without resistance. That boy, once filled with hope, began to falter as fear crept into his heart. Overwhelmed by terror, he fled the battlefield, abandoning fallen comrades without drawing his blade. Years later, survival turned him bitter, living through deceit, anger, and constant escape from his past. Now called Danalt, he carried a hardened gaze, shaped by regret and choices he could not undo. As someone searched quietly within a dark and uncertain place, a weary slave named Temsis hesitated as a boy approached, searching for someone. The boy asked about Lori, and Temsis nervously revealed she had been with Danalt. Shock overtook him as he learned she was dragged into a dungeon after a quarrel. Uncertainty followed, as only Danalt returned, while the girl never did. Anger erupted. Yet doubt lingered, leaving him burdened with the thought that he might be responsible. He entered the dungeon, believing Lori was still ahead, despite the branching, deceptive paths. Dark tunnels surrounded him, filled with lurking threats as he pushed deeper alone. Elsewhere, truth surfaced that the tagless man hid a dangerous identity, changing everything. Danalt listened in silence, his expression hardening as the past began to catch up. Soon after, a decision formed, and despite the risks within the dungeon, he chose to move forward. A man reflected on Danalt, sensing something hidden beneath his rough appearance and recent change. Soon after, a job targeting a tagless individual stirred unease, yet someone eagerly stepped forward. Tension built as determination replaced hesitation, hands tightening with resolve. Moments later, a brutal clash erupted, the creature's grotesque form meeting sudden violence. Amid chaos, power surged, and with a decisive strike, his strength rose beyond its former limits. He fought relentlessly, yet curses and paralysis began to take hold as enemies closed in. But panic drove him forward, as he realized Lori was still missing. Wounded and exhausted, he checked his remaining potion, weighing survival against saving her. A faint image of her lingered in his mind, pushing him onward despite his failing strength. At last, he faced the final path. Understanding there was only one chance left to find her, he forced himself forward, convinced the next path would finally lead to Lori. Reaching the final route, doubt struck as the path before him felt wrong. A memory surfaced, pointing toward a distant path he had overlooked. Realization hit hard when he understood that path led to a deadly abyss. Despite fear and uncertainty, he chose to step forward, accepting whatever awaited beyond. He finally reached the last path, confronting Danalt and others standing before him. Recognition struck as names surfaced, and the truth about Lori demanded answers. A strange aura surrounded him, setting him apart from everything known so far. Tension broke as accusations formed, and hostility rose between them. Darkness then consumed his figure, as something within him awakened beyond control. Realization dawned as he understood the rule, and hope vanished into a cruel truth. A command echoed within him, urging violence as his control began to slip. Denault struggled under the curse, pleading for release while facing the boy's cold gaze. The voice grew stronger, drowning reason, as only destruction remained in his mind. Overwhelmed by madness, he stood consumed, while terror spread among those who faced him. The clash began instantly, as his blade struck Denault with violent force. Denault tried to steady himself, but the boy pressed forward, denying any chance to retreat. A dark presence surged behind the boy, amplifying his killing intent beyond reason. Overpowered, Denault felt his strength fading as fear replaced his remaining resolve. Regret flooded his mind, recalling lost dreams and the path he abandoned long ago. Memories surfaced as he faced his past, recalling the moment he abandoned his companions. Regret consumed him, yet the killing intent overtook his final resolve. His body fell at last, life fading away as he clung to the weight of his choices. A small girl nods quietly, gripping his hand, resolve forming within her. Later, she stands alone, holding a shovel, carrying the weight of loss. His body lies fallen before enemies, while he faces them, wounded, yet standing. Suddenly, he moves, striking fast, cutting through attacks with fierce precision. Steel flashes again, bodies fall, and fear spreads as he reclaims his ground. A desperate scream echoes as he charges forward, blade cutting through another foe without pause. Nearby, fear spreads. One watches in shock while another collapses, unable to resist. In a swift motion, he strikes again, his sword piercing cleanly as the enemy falls. Behind him, a survivor trembles, fumbling for help, panic, rising as hope fades. Relentless force ends it, his attack crushing the last resistance, leaving only silence and dread behind. A shocked cry reveals the girl is still alive, igniting a sudden shift in his focus. The enemy panics, trying to explain their actions while facing his raised blade. Desperation spreads among them, clinging to hope, while he remains unmoved by their pleas. He pauses briefly, checking his tag, his expression steady, as resolve hardens. Fear returns instantly. The survivor realizes too late that mercy will not come. He turns toward the tunnel, ordering the survivor to stand, while tension lingers in the air. Without warning, the ground collapses, sending the man falling into a deep pit below afterward. He questions him calmly, studying his condition as a strange power activates. A curse takes hold, draining his strength while confusion spreads across his face. Then, he observes the results, realizing his ability can weaken others through a dangerous effect. He recalls the man's claim and questions him at the edge of a deep pit. Doubt fills the survivor, yet he forces himself to agree, hiding fear behind weak confidence. Then, without hesitation, he kicks him off, watching as the body falls into darkness. Time passes in silence while he waits, measuring the result with calm patience. Finally, realization strikes. If the girl lives, his purpose remains, and he cannot stop yet. With resolve set, he leaps into the darkness, trusting the faint hope ahead. Falling rapidly, his focus sharpens, eyes scanning every detail within the abyss. Impact follows as he crashes into water, barely managing to survive the descent. A sudden threat emerges beneath him, forcing a quick strike against a lurking creature. After the clash, he surfaces gasping, realizing he has reached a flooded cavern deep below. He floats in the water, realizing escape is distant and the path forward uncertain. Nearby, another victim is dragged under by a deadly creature, confirming the danger around him. Reacting quickly, he swims toward the edge and pulls himself out of the water. Once safe, he studies the surroundings, concluding the girl must have passed through here. Ahead, a new cavern stretches wide, its strange landscape hinting at deeper, unknown threats. He analyzes the situation, realizing the place is far more dangerous than expected. Moving carefully between massive rocks, his vision narrows as obstacles block his sight. A narrow opening appears ahead, offering a possible path deeper inside. Then, a small handprint catches his attention, hinting someone passed through recently. Touching it, he notices it is dry, confirming the trail he seeks is still ahead. He follows the marks, piecing together the danger she must have faced along the way. Despite everything, certainty grows within him that she is still somewhere ahead, near a rock. He finds her collapsed body beside a small handprint, barely moving. A faint presence emerges, drawing his attention as he scans the silent surroundings. Standing firm, he faces forward, resolve unshaken as he protects her location from others. He stands firm, refusing to let anyone threaten the girl he seeks. A weak voice reaches him, and her condition becomes clear as she calls out. Turning back, he notices her small figure, hiding beside the rock. Slowly, she reveals herself, injured but alive. Meeting his gaze at last, relief mixes with urgency as he steps closer and supports her weakened body. He helps her drink a potion, supporting her as her weak body slowly recovers. Tears form despite her resistance, showing the strain she endured alone. Holding her gently, he reflects on the pain she survived and her quiet resilience. A faint smile appears as he acknowledges her strength and determination. Emotion breaks through at last, and he recognizes her as someone truly remarkable. She watches him quietly as he sits, overwhelmed, his strength finally giving way. Gently, she reaches out and comforts him, offering support without hesitation. He reflects on his weakness, yet finds a small sense of relief in her trust and presence. A horned girl collapses as voices call her a heroine, her body falling without resistance. Drool slips from her mouth while faint awareness returns, her senses slowly reconnecting. Confusion rises as she claims the role of a heroine, though certainty seems fragile. Nearby, a boy watches in silence, studying her condition without reaction. Gradually, she awakens fully, facing him while the situation remains unclear. The girl regains stability after the potion, though her body shows signs of exhaustion from the fall. Together they assess the cave, realizing escape requires climbing through dangerous flooded terrain. Hunger becomes a concern, forcing them to ration dried food while avoiding weakness. She moves ahead through shallow water, guiding their path despite visible hesitation. A warning follows as she senses a large threat nearby, signaling danger ahead. They quietly agree to confirm the threat, preparing to act carefully despite the risk. Moving through shallow water, the path splits, forcing them to choose a direction forward. Strange sounds echo ahead, drawing them closer until a massive presence is revealed. A cyclops emerges violently from the water, its form towering and uncontrollable. Without warning, it attacks wildly, clashing with another creature as chaos erupts before them. The cyclops tears into its prey, consuming flesh violently as blood scatters. Another creature strikes back, revealing a brutal clash beyond a single monster. Both beasts rip into each other, locked in a savage struggle for survival. From a distance, the boy observes, realizing their conflict could lead to mutual destruction. Suddenly, an explosive force erupts from the cyclops, shaking the area and shifting the battle's outcome. A violent surge erupts, blasting water outward and disrupting the battlefield instantly. The boy grabs the girl and retreats quickly, escaping the rushing force behind them. After the shockwave passes, the area settles, leaving them coughing and disoriented. He questions what occurred, concluding the monster used an unknown ability. She analyzes the situation, realizing the creature is an unusual subspecies, making the area far more dangerous. They reconsider the earlier fork and decide to explore the left path carefully. Another split appears, causing brief hesitation as uncertainty grows. Suddenly, she rushes ahead through the water, driven by a sudden realization. An open area reveals a hidden platform, catching him off guard as she approaches it. On the platform, large treasure chests appear, suggesting a reward hidden deep within the cave. The treasure chests appear suspicious, their design too refined for such a place. Doubt spreads as both realize the setup feels artificial and intentionally placed. Despite caution, one chest is opened, revealing only a simple knife inside. Further inspection uncovers another item, suggesting the trial has only begun. A ring is revealed, and she stares at it, sensing a deeper meaning behind its presence. She equips the weapon excitedly, testing its weight while the boy watches with doubt. Information surfaces, revealing the items are artifacts with abilities tied to their use. Each item displays unique skills, confirming their value far beyond simple tools. He reflects on their rarity while she eagerly claims one for herself. Confidence rises as she insists on keeping the item, determined to use its power. He hesitates, then allows her to keep the item despite lingering doubt. Gratitude shows in her reaction, while he quietly accepts the decision. They return to the earlier fork, realizing the situation repeats in an unnatural pattern. Suspicion deepens as he moves quickly, determined to test the remaining path. Another identical split appears, confirming the area loops and traps them within the cave. He traces their path and notices a mark, confirming they have passed the same point before. A full layout forms in his mind, revealing the cave's looping structure and connections. Calmly, he prepares to explain, holding both good and bad conclusions. The truth emerges that no exit exists within this layer, making escape impossible. Still he remains focused, convinced that another method must exist beyond what they see. He concludes, the cave is artificial, believing its structure hides a deliberate escape method. Reflecting on past knowledge, he considers how creatures may have been brought into this place, Several possibilities form, narrowing toward a more unnatural explanation. The dungeon's distortion becomes clear, trapping and drawing beings inside its space. With certainty, he determines that defeating the strongest monster is the only way out. He explains that defeating the boss may open a path outside, giving them a possible escape. Determination forms as he commits to leaving the cave together with her. She accepts the plan, steadying herself as they prepare for what lies ahead. The boss appears before them, and both ready themselves to face it together. A hand rises as the pair prepares to face a swarm of vicious fish creatures emerging from below, moving together. The boy and the horned girl advance with resolve elsewhere. A man is suddenly dragged into a dungeon, trapped within a barren world filled with deadly fish. Endless struggle reshapes him into a brutal being, surviving only by overpowering the creatures. After years, a strange stimulus reaches him. Stirring a long-lost reaction, a monstrous eye fixes on the intruders, while a lurking creature emerges. Tension rises as a sinister force probes the creature's mind, awakening fear buried deep within its instincts. Trusting the horned girl's confidence to challenge the powerful enemy ahead, doubt appears briefly, yet preparation continues as they steady themselves for the coming clash. Soon after, both confront the towering creature, ready to test their strength in battle. Sensing the situation worsening as he prepares to rely on his dangerous ability, determination surges as both charge forward, committing fully despite the growing risk. Dark power spreads from him, forcing a curse onto the enemy while the girl continues her assault. The evil eye activates, binding both sides in a deadly exchange that cannot be undone. Violence erupts as the creature strikes, the battle turning into a brutal clash of endurance, forcing the boy to retreat while calculating the limits of his strength. Distance narrows as he barely evades the attack, pushing himself to gain even a small advantage. A sudden strike shatters the wall, revealing a hidden path as the monster presses forward. Noticing the change, the boy realizes the dungeon differs from before, and begins adjusting his strategy. A rough layout forms in his mind, marking key points to guide their next move. The girl reacts with surprise as the boy prepares to move the obstructing rocks blocking their path, deciding to clear the route efficiently using narrow passages. He takes her hand, guiding her to interact with the object, despite her uncertainty. Following his instruction, she touches the rock and attempts to push it away. The rock vanishes, revealing a storage ability that allows objects to be stored and retrieved at will. Yet the boy explains it can be moved despite its overwhelming size. The creature reacts as the boy confirms his plan, using his ability to observe and exploit an opening instead of breaking through. The monster climbs over, adapting quickly to the obstacle. Reaching the narrow path, it claims the area, asserting control over the terrain. Even so, the boy's setup slows it down, allowing him to escape while maintaining distance, preparing to weaken the Cyclops while guiding it toward a trap, draining the enemy, bit by bit while circling to maintain control of the situation. Suddenly, the Cyclops behaves differently, closing distance faster than expected and disrupting his rhythm. A terrifying gaze locks onto the path, overwhelming the area with intense pressure. The boy struggles to endure the crushing force as the plan begins to falter. Crushing pressure bears down on him, forcing his body toward collapse as he struggles to remain conscious. Even so, he realizes the enemy possesses the same terrifying ability. Water is violently pushed aside, revealing the creature advancing steadily through the distorted space. Confusion grows as it continues moving despite the active power, defying his expectations. Understanding dawns too late as the monster closes in, ready to crush him completely, failing to reduce the enemy further as exhaustion and limits begin to overwhelm him. Coins scatter as he accepts defeat, believing the battle has already been decided. A new thought surfaces. Realizing survival might still be possible if he acts alone. He forces his body forward, enduring attacks while shifting between cover to avoid the creature's strikes. At last, the girl notices his signal, preparing to act at the critical moment, forcing him to realize the enemy's power is growing beyond control. Exhausted, he continues crawling forward, refusing to give up, despite despair creeping into his thoughts. The path ahead splits, and he recalls how the terrain could have been used differently before. Trusting the plan, he acknowledges the girl's role as she restores the rocks behind the pursuing Cyclops. Seizing the moment, he dashes past the fork, escaping while the creature remains delayed. The Cyclops grows unstable, sensing its prey slipping away along a different path. Once dominant, it now rages as a smaller opponent outmaneuvers its control. Fury erupts as it smashes through obstacles, forcing its way forward without restraint. Ahead, the boy pushes on, nearing the final fork while exhaustion weighs heavily on him. Coins mark the path, guiding him as he recognizes the signal and commits to escape. The Cyclops pauses, sensing the flooded abyss ahead, realizing escape through that path seems impossible. A cruel understanding forms as it studies the rock, recognizing the trick yet recalling it can climb over. Excitement grows within the creature, imagining the thrill of hunting its fleeing prey again. Its mind fully awakens, driven by instinct and the memory of violence. With renewed intent, it prepares to crush the boy's desperate attempt at escape. The Cyclops reaches the flooded area, finding solid ground where water should have been. Ahead, the boy kneels in exhaustion, while the creature approaches from above, closing the distance. Nearby, the girl watches calmly, awaiting the moment to act. Anticipation turns into certainty, as the boy realizes the creature chose to climb as expected. Suddenly, the trap activates, collapsing the ground and releasing the hidden swarm beneath the Cyclops. The trap triggers as the Cyclops falls into the pit, swarmed by creatures while the boy watches, certain the plan has succeeded. Moments later, a violent force erupts upward, shattering the ground and revealing the creature's survival. A massive Cyclops looms within the pit while countless creatures surge below, forcing back the swarm and opening a path through overwhelming force. After the blast, both stand before a sealed stone exit, the girl watching quietly while the boy steadies himself. Subtle movement begins as the barrier reacts, its surface trembling under unseen influence. Finally, they face the towering gate together, preparing to break through and escape the endless layer. The boy calmly explains the plan while the horned girl listens, considering how a trap must rely on a hidden pit to succeed. Soon after, he designs the strategy, using deep water and heavy rocks to create a deadly sinking zone to test the danger. He interacts with the water where fierce fish quickly reveal the threat beneath the surface. He concludes the trap will destroy the Cyclops once it falls into the pit, standing before the sealed exit while relief settles after surviving the encounter. Soon a strange vibration spreads, and the girl notices subtle grinding sounds echoing through the rocky chamber. Without warning, the ground shifts violently, throwing both of them off balance as the tremors intensify. Realization strikes him as the entire rocky area begins collapsing around the sealed passage. Above them, the massive stone starts to fall, turning their fragile victory into sudden danger. As the collapse worsens, the boy reaches for Lori while both are thrown through the air by the falling debris, quickly activating his item box to secure their survival amid the chaos. Earlier, Lori had been calmly eating while small fragments quietly shifted around her. Soon after, the boy notices subtle movement, realizing even tiny stones behave strangely in this place. Understanding dawns as he confirms the dungeon walls restore themselves. While falling, the boy realizes the dungeon itself is restoring, its body reforming as if the dungeon refuses to let it remain defeated. Suddenly, a powerful strike hits, and he shields Lori with his body, enduring the full impact. Both are blasted into the water, the force breaking his body despite the weakened blow. Drifting unconscious, he sinks beneath the surface while Lori struggles to keep him afloat. Fearing the worst, floating in the water, Lori desperately supports the unconscious boy, calling for him as panic rises. Slowly, he regains awareness, only to see the Cyclops emerging again behind them. He pushes Lori away from danger, placing himself between her and the approaching monster. Overwhelming pressure crushes his body, leaving him unable to resist the enemy's dominance. Despite his condition, Lori rises and attacks, refusing to abandon him even against impossible odds. Seeing Lori struggling, the boy's fading consciousness sharpens as concern overtakes his weakening body. Despite exhaustion, she continues fighting in the water, refusing to give up even as danger closes in. Driven by desperation, he unleashes the cursed power within. Enraged, the Cyclops charges forward, determined to crush him under overwhelming strength. At that moment, his resolve solidifies, rejecting defeat as memories push him to fight back. Suguto strikes with the iron scoop, landing a decisive blow that shakes the Cyclops amid the chaos. A strange moment unfolds as something unexpected falls from above. Lori drives the blade deep into the Cyclops, her attack guided by unwavering resolve. As the strike connects, the enemy weakens, and the boy releases his grip. With its balance broken, the giant collapses backward, its fall sealing the end of the battle. Sensing a brief opening, the boy focuses on the Cyclops' eye as the only vulnerable point. In that instant, Lori launches forward, driving her weapon with precise force toward the target. Dark energy spreads as his power distorts the surroundings, forcing the monster into hesitation. Fear takes hold within the Cyclops, creating the smallest chance needed to strike. Seizing it, Lori pierces the eye while the boy refuses to fall, sustaining the final attack strained and exhausted. Lori struggles to continue as the boy's power reaches its limit. With fierce determination, she changes her approach, using the scoop to dig and drive her attack deeper. The strike disrupts the Cyclops, sending its body crashing as the dark force collapses inward, Pulled by the aftermath, the boy is dragged through the swirling water, barely holding on, wounded and uncertain, questioning whether the battle has truly ended. Lori struggles in the water, reaching toward him while he weakly keeps himself afloat. Exhaustion takes over as his body stops responding, and he begins to lose control of his movements. Reminding him this is not the first time he has faced such despair, he slowly sinks again, accepting the outcome with fading awareness. Still, Lori continues reaching out, refusing to give up as she tries to hold on just a little longer. Suguto recalls his wish to keep traveling with Lori, his thoughts slipping into silence. Suddenly, power surges within him as his abilities evolve, breaking past previous limits. In a strange space, he faces the Cyclops once more, its presence lingering beyond defeat. Drawn by curiosity, he observes a swirling light, sensing something hidden within it. As awareness returns, he feels a mysterious connection, as if something beyond had acknowledged him. The boy awakens in a quiet room, his body resting as an old woman watches over him. She speaks firmly, urging him to leave soon, her tone calm yet distant. Confusion fills him as he checks his body, realizing his severe injuries are completely healed. Gradually, he learns that Lori saved him by using a potion at the right moment. Later, he finds her asleep on him, her small body clinging close after everything they endured. A small girl sleeps deeply, drool spilling as her body remains completely relaxed. Nearby, Suguto rests in bed while an elder explains their dungeon discovery, and the consequences spreading through the Adventurers Guild, making secrecy unlikely despite any attempt to deny achievement. A status window appears, revealing to Suguto's title as Evil Eye Emperor, shocking him. The elder explains titles are rare, marking him as extraordinary. A sleeping girl is identified as Luri Fei, a debt slave with the role of Scooper. Suguto reacts with confusion, while the elder finds the unusual title amusing and strange. The elder leaves, trusting them to manage their situation as Suguto quietly reflects on her role. Watching her sleep, he begins to feel his earlier worries fade and his decisions settle. He resolves to move forward, believing that staying with Luri Fei gives him purpose and strength. Suguto and Luri Fei silently share resolve, each determined to grow stronger together. A status window reveals Suguto's abilities, showing steady growth and the power of his evil eye. Luri Fei's status appears next, highlighting her unique skills centered around scooping and support. Back inside, her cheerful energy fills the space as she prepares something with enthusiasm, focusing entirely on supporting Suguto through her efforts. Luri Fei swings her scoop wildly, striking with unexpected force while Suguto watches in alarm. He recalls gaining poison resistance during their dungeon struggle, a result of enduring deadly effects. She finishes cooking, though unable to taste, leaving the result uncertain despite her effort. Suguto hesitates briefly, then forces himself to eat the meal she prepared. Pain surges through him, yet he realizes the food is surprisingly good despite the poison. Suguto eats the meal, his body reacting violently as pain builds with every swallow. Later he finishes after hours, exhausted, while Luri Fei remains cheerful, unaware of the suffering caused. News spread across Berg as two youths returned. After clearing the cavern, rumors grew about their reckless strength, describing a gloomy boy and a pale, fluffy girl. Later, the girl named Lori quietly ate while the boy observed her unusual behavior. Both sat together, now known as Scooper and Evil Eye, carrying titles. Despite their young appearance, during the meal, her strange habits continued, revealing a carefree nature contrasting his silent restraint. An elder explained their titles, warning such rare powers could attract danger and greedy attention. He revealed inheritance allowed stealing titles through killing, though success remained uncertain and rarely achieved. While hearing this, the boy stayed calm, yet the girl continued eating, unconcerned by threats, deciding anyone targeting them would regret making such a reckless move. Meanwhile, her careless innocence showed, making her seem vulnerable, despite surviving a powerful enemy unharmed, treating them as children while expecting repayment for her support. Outside, the girl declared their bond clearly, showing trust while the boy quietly accepted it. They planned returning to the dungeon, recalling how their last battle had drained all resources. Suddenly, his body faltered, vision distorting as an unfamiliar weakness crept over his senses. Even so, they continued walking through town, unaware of the danger slowly building within him. They entered the busy market, observing new sights beyond the dungeon surroundings they were used to. Bright candied fruits caught her attention, sparkling vividly and stirring quiet curiosity within her. Though she showed interest, he hesitated, aware they lacked money and could not afford such treats. Eventually she tasted one, expressing simple joy while he watched her reaction carefully. as her status restricted freedom, revealing unseen limits behind her innocent desires. Information revealed the Leisheimer Company's control, exposing how slavery and power ruled the town silently. While moving through the streets, realizing her dependence and lack of freedom. Soon after, suspicious men appeared and seized Lori, taking advantage of her defenseless state. Anger surged as he chased them, yet his vision warped again, slowing his reaction dangerously. Despite the chaos, her calm gaze remained unchanged, as if something deeper was about to awaken. The kidnappers carried Lori away as she quietly resisted, showing little fear despite their rough actions. Their carelessness turned cruel, provoking her patience until something within her finally shifted. In a sudden strike, she retaliated, overwhelming one attacker with unexpected strength and precision. More men rushed forward, yet each attempt failed as she moved swiftly and struck them down. Soon, silence followed, leaving her standing alone while every enemy collapsed around her defeated. After defeating them, Lori walked away calmly, ignoring the chaos while the boy hurried after her. Her overwhelming strength contrasted sharply with her fragile appearance. Fear spread as they realized her power, sensing a presence shaped by countless near-death experiences. Terrified, the men begged for forgiveness, abandoning hostility and pleading desperately for mercy. In the end, she accepted their request, offering help instead, showing an unexpected and simple kindness. The men gratefully followed Lori, treating her with respect after witnessing her overwhelming strength. Meanwhile, the boy struggled to keep up, forcing himself forward despite his worsening condition. Realizing urgency, he planned to report the incident, suspecting others sought power through dangerous means. Determined, he prepared to offer a valuable artifact, hoping it would secure help quickly. Before he could act, an unfamiliar elder arrived, interrupting his path with a calm presence. An elder named Freed approached, identifying the boy and delivering a message from the powerful company. The boy realized too late that Lori's status tied her directly to those dangerous authorities. Freed explained their intent to reclaim her, treating her not as a person but as property. Urgency grew as the boy asked for help, revealing her sudden disappearance. Soon, he arrived at a grand estate, sensing the scale of power controlling everything ahead. He arrived at the company's headquarters, surrounded by heavy traffic and signs of overwhelming influence. Inside, warnings grew stronger as the elder urged caution before meeting the one in control. Tension rose while he prepared himself, stepping forward despite uncertainty and unease. A mysterious girl appeared within the office, her presence calm yet unsettling to witness, revealing something far more dangerous hidden behind the company. Yet, something felt deeply wrong beneath her perfect appearance. She welcomed him calmly, already aware of his identity and purpose for coming there. Without hesitation, she demanded obedience, but he firmly refused to submit to her control. Determination strengthened him as he stood his ground, refusing to show weakness despite the pressure. In response, she proposed a deal, offering Lori's return while revealing hidden manipulation behind everything, exposing hidden intentions and raising suspicion about her earlier proposal. The man recognizes the risk yet proceeds cautiously, aware she holds power that could shift control. She reacts with calm amusement, finding his demand unusual while observing his resolve. An agreement forms, balancing interests through a partnership to recover what both lost. Doubt lingers as he senses deeper motives behind her composed exterior. The man considers freeing the enslaved girl, but Lori Fey reveals her past and questions his reason. She explains the girl would remain alone and helpless, suggesting control as a more practical path. Hearing this, he reflects, while the girl quietly expresses her desire to grow stronger. Determination surfaces as she declares her goal, prompting a sharp response from him. He chooses to act, leaving the rescue in motion despite lingering uncertainty. The man leaves in haste, shaken and avoiding eye contact, while the girl notices his sudden fear. Inside the room, distance grows as others question his reaction, sensing unease in his behavior. From above, Lori Fey observes calmly, hinting he witnessed something unsettling, while he walks away burdened by what he saw. Guided through darkness, the girl called Scooper confidently leads the men, gaining their trust with ease. Reaching a doorway, she gestures ahead, encouraging them to proceed without hesitation. Her identity, Scooper Lori Fey, reflects a mysterious power beyond understanding, quietly defining her role. Once inside, the men realize too late. The room is a prison cell, their confidence turning into mockery. After locking them away, she leaves as they laugh, unaware they were completely deceived. Locked inside, Scooper stands alone while the men above dismiss her as foolish, unaware of her intent. With force, she swings her shovel against the wall, refusing to remain trapped. Elsewhere, cries echo as memories of helpless children and a weary man surface. The man surrounded by them reflects on his limits, knowing he cannot always protect them. Back in the cell, Scooper embeds her shovel into the door, steadily breaking her way out. Scooper marvels at the moment, briefly distracted as a strange comforting memory crosses her mind. Soon after, she breaks through the wall, creating an opening and stepping out with satisfaction. Noticing something beyond, her gaze sharpens as curiosity replaces calm. Nearby, others struggle to see through a barrier, relying on each other to glimpse outside. From their limited view, they describe something white and soft, leaving its true nature uncertain. Exposing her escape as the guards panic at her unexpected freedom, watching from afar, others struggle to believe the small girl could cause such damage. Lanza observes calmly, analyzing the situation and attributing her strength to the power of a title. Without delay, he unleashes a lightning attack, striking with precise and overwhelming force. Hit by the blast, Scooper falls back, enduring the impact while the man acknowledges her unusual ability. Scooper prepares herself while Lanza warns her, maintaining control of the situation. Moments later, he summons lightning spears, striking the ground and forcing her into a desperate dodge. Overwhelmed by the attack, she is knocked down as the men celebrate her defeat nearby. The others notice the missing children, realizing something is no longer as expected. Meanwhile, Lanza remains composed, treating the situation as routine while decisions about the captives continue. Lanza looks down at the unconscious Scooper, treating her as a valuable capture rather than a threat. Elsewhere, the children cling to a man, fearing they will all be turned into underground slaves. In another place, people investigate the slums, suspecting it as a likely hiding ground. Discussion turns to inheritance, revealing that power can be taken through killing. Considering the risks, they conclude targeting Luri Fei directly would be far more difficult. A man explains that inheriting a title requires specific skills, making such power rare and difficult to obtain, whose unusual title and weapon make her abilities hard to define. He reflects on her actions, realizing her strength comes from actual combat experience. Meanwhile, a group decides to carefully investigate her location, taking advantage of the time available. Soon after, they are surrounded in the slums, tension rising as others confront them. Shiguto reflects on the situation, realizing a deeper connection as his title resurfaces in his thoughts. In an instant, a man is struck down, shocking everyone as the sudden attack disrupts the scene. Freed reveals his strength, calmly drawing power from his tag while apologizing without concern. Shiguto questions the reliability of such titles and the people behind them. Tension erupts as the crowd turns hostile, surrounding them and preparing to strike. He strikes swiftly, targeting legs to disable enemies without killing them. Continuing his assault, he overwhelms another attacker with precise and controlled movements. Panic spreads as the group realizes his intent, unable to withstand his focused attacks. After defeating them, he stands beside Freed, who remains calm amid the fallen men, revealing they are searching for an abducted girl, while others note Suguto's unused power. Suguto questions locals, gathering rumors about kidnappers and suspicious groups in the area. A witness recalls a horned girl calmly leading several men, contradicting the idea of abduction. Following the lead, they arrive at a deserted building marked by fresh tracks. Inside the area, Suguto approaches a lone man, seeking confirmation about recent visitors. The man reveals children were taken away in wagons, confirming they were sold as underground slaves. Freed explains the system of underground slavery and reveals he knows where to find Luri Fei. He identifies the Myriad Company as the force controlling the slave trade, linking them to the kidnappings. Far away, the group reaches a wasteland near Rosalique, confirming the information was accurate. As they approach, tension rises when something unusual comes into view. Concept of red names is revealed, marking those who kill as targets hunted without exception. Safina appears, a feared red name, her presence signaling danger and overwhelming power. Recognized as a notorious figure, she confronts those in her path without hesitation. Nearby, Suguto notices the bound Scooper while chaos unfolds around them. With swift force, Safina strikes down enemies, pursuing her goal of ending slave traders and freeing captives. Rosalique stood quiet as two wagons moved north along the Holy Road, leaving the town behind. One wagon lagged, still an hour away, while inside, a boy watched in silence beside a strange girl. Bound tightly, the horned girl rested calmly, showing no fear despite her captive state. Latter both stood on a bridge, observing the flowing water below. Beyond them, the existence of the three great crimson evils lingered. The three great crimson evils revealed themselves openly, moving among humans while concealing their true danger. They continued forward, leaving behind fallen soldiers who once hunted them. A warrior unleashed petrification, aiming to stop the horned girl before she could reach Rosalique. Another fighter prepared a sealing strike, trusting his hardened body to hold her in place. At the final moment she resisted fiercely, turning the clash into a brutal struggle for survival. A swordsman combined layered skills, driving a powerful strike toward the restrained girl. Two soldiers closed in, gripping her arms as they forced her into submission. Instead of breaking, she bit through flesh, dropping one attacker as blood spilled across the ground. Calm returned to her expression, savoring the moment while fear spread among the others. Then she lunged again, cutting forward with brutal force, overwhelming the remaining opponent. The girl began to feast, tearing into her fallen enemies without hesitation. Legend spoke of the three great crimson evils, beings who never hid nor fled from fear. Among the remains, a clue surfaced pointing toward hidden crimes within Rosalique. Carrying that lead, she moved alone across the barren land toward the distant town. Meanwhile, within Rosalique's upper district, her return stirred quiet tension among those waiting. Inside Rosalique, a noble calmly drank tea, noting the usual unrest around him. Soon after, a merchant returned empty-handed, drawing anger for failing his dealings. Rumors spread quietly, revealing past ties and raising suspicion among those present. Discussion turned tense, as questions arose about missing goods and broken negotiations. Elsewhere, thoughts shifted toward the girl, her actions hinting at a deeper plan unfolding. A calm exchange continued, hinting that rising prices were tied to recent events. The noble revealed a clue, stating a dungeon in Berg had been cleared by a horned child. A name surfaced, connecting the mysterious girl to that unexpected achievement. Meanwhile, the boy was called, drawing attention back to their quiet surroundings. At the same time, children played around the resting girl, unaware of her true nature. Inside a hidden room, children stayed near the bound girl, while the boy watched cautiously. They explained their role, caring for captives taken by underground merchants. Soon the girl stirred, her condition drawing curiosity from both the children and the boy. As she moved, the bindings suddenly disappeared, surprising everyone nearby. Then the truth emerged, revealing Rosalique's secret and the fate awaiting those captured. The girl was given spare clothes, though the boy reacted with confusion upon seeing them. He sensed nothing familiar nearby, realizing no allies had come to find them. Holding the fabric tightly, she silently showed attachment to something important. Memories of her village surfaced, reminding her how long she had been taken. Determination grew within her, pushing her to endure and seek a way to escape. The girl raised her shovel boldly, revealing she had been hiding her ability all along. She declared herself a scooper, showing confidence, despite her small stature. Hearing this, others questioned the meaning and rarity behind such a title. Elsewhere, nobles discussed its potential, considering the strength tied to that role. In the end, doubt remained as the idea of inheriting such a title seemed unlikely. A man confirmed his decision to leave his former life, choosing a quieter path ahead. Outside, unease grew as rumors spread about worsening conditions surrounding the city. Reports revealed unrest, with suppression units moving and tension rising across Rosalique far away. The girl advanced alone, her reputation as a feared being following closely behind back inside. Uncertainty remained, as no one understood the true reason for her approach. A sudden impact shook the room, catching everyone off guard as tension spiked instantly. The source was traced below, pointing toward the hidden chamber where captives were kept. Realization settled in, suggesting the girl had begun her move. Outside, the boy sensed the disturbance, reacting to the shift in the atmosphere. From above, suspicion formed, linking the chaos directly to the myriad company. The building collapsed violently, leaving destruction and scattered debris across the courtyard. Arriving at the scene, the boy realized this was where the girl had been held. They began examining the aftermath, surrounded by bodies and signs of brutal conflict. Guilt struck him as he found her, injured yet standing after everything she endured. Before he could act, another violent surge erupted, shaking the ruins once again. Amid the wreckage, a man was thrown aside as the aftermath of the destruction continued to unfold. Identities were revealed, linking the figures present to powerful factions within the conflict. Tension rose as accusations formed, connecting the boy to the unfolding chaos. Anger surfaced, forcing a confrontation between both sides. Before the clash escalated, a brief exchange shifted the moment, turning conflict into negotiation. Segudo attacks fiercely, demanding Luri's location while overwhelming his opponent with raw aggression. Enemy endures and counters, recognizing Tsuguto's determination as he prepares his hidden power. A violent clash erupts, yet the truth becomes clear that the man holds no useful information. She asked where Myriad was, making both of them turn their heads. Suddenly darkness engulfs Segudo's vision, signaling a strange shift within him as his power evolves. Pressure overwhelms him as his vision twists again, forcing him to retreat while struggling to regain control. The scene is real, and what her witnessing is real. Far ahead, Safina appears amid a massive coiling force, absorbing a strict warning while a darker presence looms below, watching silently. She remembers that command as something precious, holding it close with quiet acceptance. Suddenly, chaos erupts as a parent collapses, fear spreading while something unnatural advances. Confusion grows within her as she reacts violently, unable to understand the fear directed at her. The scene shatters as her power explodes outward, leaving destruction and broken bodies behind. The girl stands amid ruin, marked as a monster, while a wounded man approaches. Nearby, a man witnesses a massive unseen creature twisting through space. Awareness sharpens as his strange vision evolves, granting clearer sight into the hidden force around him. Distortion spreads across reality, confirming his power is altering perception rather than failing. With focused intent, he reactivates the ability, locking onto the warped truth and unleashing a precise strike. His body is forced backward as an unseen pressure fills the space, leaving him disoriented. A strange, weightless substance spreads everywhere, appearing clearer than water while distorting reality itself. Identifying the phenomenon as mana, while red mist begins rising within it. Gray mist follows as fear settles in, leading to the realization that they cannot confront the threat. A massive black dragon form emerges, moving silently through the liquid-like world. Chigudo realizes he was caught inside a powerful mana vortex, sensing a presence far beyond his level. A girl appears before him, her identity revealed as a high-level half-dragon with overwhelming status. Through his enhanced vision, he perceives her hidden attributes. Without hesitation, she strikes a man down, asserting control over the situation with brutal force. Calmly, she restrains him and demands information, showing no mercy as she presses for answers, speaking coldly as gray mana leaks from the injured man, catching the boy's attention. Her tone shifts slightly, revealing caution as she recalls a dangerous entity she prefers never to face again, striking violently while the man activates a rapid escape technique. Dust settles as his presence disappears, leaving only traces behind and confusion in the aftermath. Oz, she explains the technique, realizing he escaped using high-speed lightning movement. The ruined street reveals widespread destruction, leading him to suspect the girl caused everything. He learns many involved may not fully understand the crimes tied to the organization, warns that she is far beyond reason, urging immediate escape from someone overwhelmingly dangerous. Despite fear, he realizes her strength is unmatched, making any direct confrontation impossible. A wounded servant appears pleading for help, but the girl instantly moves, reacting before anyone else can act. He ignores the warning and charges forward, firing a desperate shot toward the advancing girl, her movement cutting through his strike, while force slams him back. Recovering quickly, he shields the injured servant, refusing to yield despite the overwhelming threat ahead. Far away, a violent explosion erupts within the hidden underground area, shaking the surroundings. Elsewhere, frightened children react to the blast, sensing danger as confusion spreads through the building. A horned girl is noticed as others question how anyone could break through solid walls. She demonstrates her ability, effortlessly digging through the wall while the children watch in shock. After explaining her situation, she remains calm despite injury, showing determination to keep going. The boy reflects on survival instincts, trying to adapt quickly to the harsh situation. Frustration rises as he rejects the plan, then urgently points out a new escape route. The horned girl smiles with confidence, easily breaking through obstacles, blocking their path. Inside the storage room, they confirm it once belonged to the merchants, gathering useful information. Excitement rises as the boy discovers their status tags, along with a hidden box of secrets. Concern follows when one tag is missing, but attention shifts toward arming themselves for safety. Energy builds as he eagerly grabs weapons, driven by urgency despite his lack of experience. The boy excitedly chooses a sword, while the girl insists her scoop is a far stronger weapon. Struggling briefly before switching to a smaller blade, guiding the group. He leads them through corridors, relying on knowledge gained from past chores. Carefully they approach the rear exit, staying alert to what might be waiting ahead. Relief appears as a carriage is found outside, offering a possible way to flee safely. As he prepares to retrieve a horse, a presence inside the carriage draws his attention. A man from the Myriad Company reveals himself, calmly anticipating their attempted escape. Outside tension rises as the group is warned of danger. With the girl standing at a distance, he confronts her directly, questioning her actions while she remains indifferent. Cold detachment defines her response, showing no remorse as his anger grows toward her inhuman gaze. She suddenly closes the distance, stopping just before him. creating a tense and uncertain moment. Her presence shifts into something far more dangerous, revealing a terrifying nature beneath her form. Fear grips him as instinct urges retreat, yet he struggles against the impulse to flee. Instead of running, he lashes out with anger, driven by a desperate need to protect. Behind her, a dark emotion surfaces as hatred begins to take shape within her gaze, combining heightened vision and focus to strike directly at her. Despite seeing her movements, his body fails to keep pace, causing his assault to falter. She counters effortlessly, unleashing a devastating impact while expressing clear disdain toward his gaze. The resulting explosion shakes the area, drawing attention while she remains calm and unaffected. Nearby, others react quickly, ordering the children to stay inside, as new threats begin approaching. The group faces approaching guards as the girl acknowledges them, realizing a larger threat is drawing near, urging everyone to escape together while tension remains unresolved. Suddenly, destruction bursts through the wall as the boy crashes down, injured and barely holding himself upright. A massive structure begins collapsing, sending shock through the narrow street as debris falls. Suguto appears gravely injured, his body drenched and barely standing. The group prepares to flee together, recognizing the threat. The girl grips her shovel, watching the approaching enemies. A knight attacks swiftly, but the girl intercepts with precise strength, halting the strike without hesitation. The man observes her ability, acknowledging her power while maintaining a composed authority. A man explains that danger is approaching and urges them to understand the situation quickly. The group chooses to fight while protecting the children, standing firm despite uncertainty. She quietly confirms that no one will be abandoned, seeking unity among them as tension rises. The man assures everyone they will escape together and promises fair treatment, easing some doubt. He invites them aboard while the boy questions their destination with lingering concern, reveals their destination lies to the south, a place tied closely to the girl's past. Suddenly, violent energy erupts across the area, tearing through the street and scattering everything nearby. A cloaked figure stands within the storm of lightning, controlling the power with precision as tension escalates. He calmly prepares a potion, showing restraint, despite wielding dangerous magic, transforms his body into lightning, moving instantly along prepared paths to evade and strike, realizing the damage to his body while acknowledging it secured time to escape a greater threat. Kneeling in exhaustion, he struggles to accept his limits, yet decides to head south where allies await. Reports confirm a city's fall, leaving no military strength behind, forcing him to act with urgency. He departs alone, recognizing there is still much left unfinished. Elsewhere, Suguto regains awareness, sensing the situation shifting around him, confirming his condition, while assuring the group that immediate danger has passed. Suguto regains consciousness, noticing the ruined surroundings and recalling the girl's strike that sent him down. He realizes he survived an overwhelming attack, despite expecting death, as the situation begins to make sense. The man explains a potion saved him and notes his unexpected defensive ability. Newly awakened, Suguto senses his abilities improving, becoming aware of growth within himself. Sensing time slow as his perception sharpened through intense focus, he realizes his endurance allowed him to survive, but by resisting fatal damage at the critical moment. The man explains the limits of such power, warning that relying on it alone is dangerous. Others confirm the situation, revealing someone had been praying for his safety during the chaos. Suguto reflects on survival, understanding it was only possible through narrow chance and unseen support. The girl acknowledges the miracle, but warns Suguto that staying with them carries serious risk, explaining missing children and introducing their role in handling the aftermath of the crisis. Revealing no slaves among them but clear ties to the myriad company, discussion shifts to a quest taken earlier, linking current events to prior actions. A figure is identified as a guildmaster, while another presence hints at deeper connections behind the incident. Tension rises as reports confirm the girl's presence, linking her to a powerful threat the members failed to contain. The guildmaster accepts responsibility, determined to act despite the risk of widespread casualties, showing no intent to fight while revealing quiet control over the situation. A document exposes her mission involving slave rescue, shifting the understanding of her actions. Her overwhelming presence leaves them realizing they lack the strength to oppose her. The guild reviews reports realizing slaves were gathered and some escaped. Suguto questions the situation, suspecting the girl's actions were not random but tied to a specific purpose. Information about Lori reveals a connection to the slave system, deepening the mystery behind the rescue. A witness confirms the children fled during the chaos, correcting earlier assumptions. Suguto explains her detection ability is extremely high, making ordinary surveillance ineffective against her movements. They conclude, Safina possesses an advanced detection ability, making pursuit nearly impossible through normal tracking methods. Suguto analyzes the limits of perception, noting he could not clearly detect individuals. Reports suggest no children escaped on foot, as such movement would not have gone unnoticed. Attention shifts to another possibility, questioning whether the children used transportation instead. They deduce a carriage likely carried them away. Realizing someone may already be tracking its destination, they realize Lori may be tied to the myriad, forcing them to stay alert despite the situation. Suguto decides to pursue another lead while the group agrees to split and wait for updates. He recalls a strange figure using lightning near the myriad building. Suspicion grows as he notices unusual traces along the ground near a ditch. A metal pipe draws attention, prompting questions about its purpose and possible link to the escape. Information reveals a sewer system beneath the company grounds, extending far beyond its borders. Suguto connects this with lightning movement, realizing such paths could function like guided routes for instant travel. The trail leads outward through the town, suggesting an escape route toward the outskirts. He follows the road, recalling similar ground he once crossed, strengthening his suspicion. Faint traces of mana confirm it, marking the exact path taken during the escape. Lightning user concludes he will encounter the myriad ahead, anticipating a confrontation with their key figure. Certain Lori will also be at the destination as the carriage moves south. Far away, a message reaches Berg within the Lesheimer company, signaling involvement from Rosalie's guild. The report is delivered with urgency, drawing immediate attention from those in charge. A woman reads the message calmly, intrigued by the unexpected request directed toward her. A boy describes Safina as a feared killer, whose presence alone brings death. Suddenly he exaggerates further, claiming she devours people, heightening the tension among listeners. Meanwhile, Safina calmly eats, unaffected, as the frightened children cling to the boy. Afterward, the noble dismisses the claims, revealing the boy's past and accusing him of lies. Finally, Safina apologizes politely, seeking judgment, as the noble lowers himself in uneasy respect. The noble offers candy as a gesture, and Safina accepts, ending the tension with a simple act. Soon after, the carriage departs while he explains their sudden journey as an escape from danger. Then he returns a tag, revealing its importance and restoring something the boy had lost. With quiet pride, Safina shows her own tag, confirming her status and identity. His expression shifting as he recognizes the meaning behind her name. Inside a grand hall, an impatient figure rages, demanding to know why the delay continues. Moments later, several figures gather around a long table, tension settling as the meeting begins. Soon, influential leaders are introduced, each representing powerful factions with their own interests. Calmly, Liv explains the purpose, revealing the matter concerns the feared Crimson Evils. At last, a woman enters, drawing attention as she acknowledges their presence and takes control. Her presence commanding attention while others sense her authority. Around the table, leaders confirm a Crimson Evil is moving toward Berg, though its intentions remain unclear. Reports arrive, revealing Rosalie has been devastated, and many adventurers have already fallen. Gradually they deduce the target is a powerful slave merchant tied to the region. Finally, Liv concludes the situation demands action, warning that Safina's arrival could trigger a major conflict, dismissing their concerns and refusing to act against the threat. Leaning forward, the woman suggests the enemy acts with purpose, hinting at a deeper motive. Elsewhere, the guild remains busy, unaware of the growing crisis discussed among leaders. Inside, workers struggle with confusion, overwhelmed by reports and unable to track key individuals. Meanwhile, rumors spread about two young adventurers whose sudden rise begins to draw suspicion. Two clerks discuss their superior's refusal, sensing unease while being urged to continue their duties. Soon, a man pushes past guards, ignoring resistance as he heads deeper inside with urgency. Reaching the desk, he demands immediate attention, using the threat of the Crimson Evils to justify his intrusion, offering support while requesting Safina's elimination on behalf of his company. Finally, the guild confirms an emergency quest already exists, mobilizing adventurers for the crisis. Lanza questions the situation, confused by the sudden shift, yet still attempts to maintain composure. Immediately armed adventurers surround him, closing in as the atmosphere turns hostile. Then officials declare his arrest, linking him directly to the Myriad Company under a new guild order. As he retreats, accusations surface, exposing his ties to illegal slave dealings. Desperately, he denies everything, insisting their actions were lawful while pressure mounts around him. Lanza begins to suspect manipulation, realizing the situation may be driven by unseen forces beyond the guild. A posted request reveals a mission to eliminate underground slave dealers, exposing a hidden objective. Despite losses, Others justify the threat, while Lanza mocks their willingness to sacrifice him. Firmly, the guild confirms orders to surrender to the Crimson Evil without resistance. Driven by desperation, Lanza attacks, attempting escape as violence suddenly erupts. Lanza, injured, steadies himself while soldiers close in, aware his condition is worsening. Suddenly, he unleashes a spell, creating distance as others rush forward to capture him. A massive wall of lightning erupts, blocking the advancing fighters and halting their pursuit. Some attempt to break through or leap past it, but the barrier overwhelms them instantly. Seizing the moment, Lanza escapes, throwing himself away from danger. While confusion spreads behind him, Lanza pushes forward, enhancing his body as he forces a path through the surrounding attackers. With sudden speed, he breaks past them, leaving the guards struggling to keep up elsewhere. A notice spreads, revealing a guild order targeting the Myriad Company. Meanwhile, a shopkeeper grows irritated as loud knocking interrupts the quiet store. At last, Lanza arrives injured, collapsing inside, while urgently seeking potions to survive. The carriage enters a quiet district, the empty streets hinting that something is already wrong. Inside, the group notices the silence, until the horse suddenly reacts, startling everyone. Thrown off balance, they struggle as the carriage stops abruptly, confusion spreading among them. Outside, armed men surround the group, forming a tight circle and blocking every escape. Then, the soldiers identify their target, warning them to surrender peacefully as tension rises. The soldiers justify their actions, claiming they follow a guild order to capture Myriad members. Calmly, the man questions them, exposing their awareness of the Crimson Evil and their true intent. Observing closely, he reads their reactions, realizing they plan to sacrifice him to survive. Casually, he sits above them, asking about their reward, unsettling their confidence. Then, he reveals the truth, mocking their plan as tension sharpens and hostility rises. A confident smile appears as the man calmly declares an overwhelming offer. Turning to the soldiers, he promises a reward far greater than what they were given. With steady resolve, he proposes a deal, insisting on fighting under his own conditions. Then, he raises the stakes, offering immense wealth to everyone present, shaking their resolve. In the end, he reveals his nature, valuing profit above all as he seeks to reclaim control. Shaken as they realize their pride has been exposed, and their unity begins to waver. A faint smile follows, as he reminds them their lost dignity can be reclaimed through his offer. Seated calmly, he dominates the moment, his words influencing even those stronger than him. With quiet authority, he orders them to gather, turning hesitation into submission. Finally, the transaction begins, as wealth transfers and their decision is sealed, celebrating as payment is confirmed, and their resolve completely shifts. Soon after, a small girl steps forward calmly, standing before the man without hesitation. Curious, she shows interest, quietly drawn by the wealth he displayed. However, her status is revealed, preventing any agreement due to restrictions placed on her. In response, the man remains composed, deciding to approach her owner while planning his next move. Safina watches in surprise as gold spills into her hands, the sheer amount catching her off guard. Nearby, the boy steps forward, while Safina begins counting coins, already drawn into the offer. With determination, he declares his intent to fight, seeing a chance to free himself and others. Despite this, his resolve is dismissed, his challenge rejected without consideration. Even so, he accepts the risk, deciding to fight for a chance at freedom. Realizing he cannot win through words against the merchant's overwhelming presence. Firmly, the man questions his worth, challenging whether a child could justify such a high price. Nearby, the others watch quietly, unaware of the decision forming within him. Resolute, he declares his ability to fight, refusing to back down despite the pressure. At last, the merchant accepts, sealing the agreement with calm satisfaction. A vast capital spreads between inner and outer towns, while a mineral dungeon lies beneath towering formations in the east. Merchants fill the outer town, drawn by trade and magic ore along the busy Holy Road. After news of the Crimson Evils, the city quiets, yet Bayu struggles under slavery. Nearby, Vita and Kyle share the same fate, bound by debt. A man observes calmly, delaying action until conflict decides their worth. The man hands Bayu currency and a certificate, preparing him for movement despite his status. Plans form to seek aid from the Adventurers Guild, though doubts rise about facing overwhelming threats. News arrives that all strong adventurers remain inside the mineral dungeon. Unexpectedly, the dungeon's clearing is credited to a single young girl. Soon after, that girl approaches a shop, carrying herself with quiet confidence as others watch. Information spreads that the dungeon has begun mutating, changing its structure and dangers. A massive pit forms, revealing new layers filled with hidden treasure and unknown paths. Because of this, strong adventurers remain away, leaving the town vulnerable and quiet. One shopkeeper stays behind, unable to abandon the place he spent years protecting. Later, a knock interrupts the silence, and he opens the door to an unexpected presence. A small girl named Luri appears, marked as a debt slave, yet she carries herself calmly. She enters the shop and simply seeks vegetables, showing little concern for status. Despite refusal, she presents large coins, surprising the shopkeeper and drawing attention. Soon, more children gather around her as she shares what she obtained. With quiet certainty, she encourages them to eat properly, bringing a rare sense of stability. The children gather happily as food is shared, easing the shopkeeper's worries for a moment. Calm spreads through the group as they eat, creating a brief sense of peace in the troubled town elsewhere. Doubts arise about the threat, as some begin to question the truth behind the warnings. Suddenly, something descends from above, drawing attention across the street. A violent impact follows, shattering the ground and revealing a brutal, undeniable danger. Fallen object is noticed, drawing attention as people begin to realize something is wrong. Recognition spreads that the victim is a powerful adventurer, causing tension to rise. The body's condition reveals he was violently thrown from afar, not defeated here. A greater threat approaches the town, described as something beyond ordinary danger. Amid the fear, one man remains confident, preparing to confront the incoming force. A warning is given as the man urges others to flee, knowing they cannot face what is coming. Far away, towering structures stand over the land, marking the origin of the growing threat. Meanwhile, Myriad is revealed as a warrior in nature. Despite his unremarkable appearance, unlike others who chase strength through combat roles, he chose a different path. That path leads him to become a merchant, hiding his true capability beneath it. Coins scatter as belief grows that merchants can hold power equal to strength. As a man crashes onto a moving carriage and draws attention, moments later, he meets familiar faces, showing he has reached the town ahead of others. Inside, discussions reveal he is tied to the Myriad company, though not as a typical adventurer. Soon after, he questions the situation, focusing on the unrest spreading through the area. Lori is introduced as an ally, and confidence rises as her presence strengthens their side soon. It is revealed that large sums were spent to gather support, raising questions about the situation. Tension builds as doubts surface about Lori's past and her connection to slavery. Information emerges about labor shortages and suspicious activities tied to mining operations. Finally, Myriad admits his actions, revealing a hidden motive behind rescuing children. The truth is exposed as children are used within systems meant to manage slaves more efficiently. Calmly, the man admits his role, showing no remorse for the methods he employs. Doubt grows as others question his choices, unsure whether he stands apart from what he claims. Plans escalate when he proposes hiring every strong adventurer, offering overwhelming wealth. Finally, his focus turns toward the strongest enemies, preparing for a decisive confrontation. A dangerous resolve forms as the man believes power can be seized through his own methods. The carriage advances through the city, while people gather, sensing an approaching confrontation. A figure prepares in silence, focusing with intense intent before acting. High above, a woman moves swiftly across rooftops, her presence dominating the city below. In an instant, her gaze sharpens, signaling the imminent start of a violent clash. A sudden warning forces everyone inside the carriage to react as danger closes in. An explosive strike hits the carriage, shaking the street and revealing a direct attack. One guard prepares to respond, becoming one of the few who clearly witnessed the event. The impact continues as debris flies and an attempted defense fails, resulting in severe injury. While the destruction is revealed to be caused by a simple stone, a powerful woman appears, standing calmly as her presence dominates the surroundings. Recognition spreads among the group, and tension rises as they realize the long-awaited enemy has finally arrived. A carriage enters the city as tension spreads, marking the girl's arrival. Her cold gaze reveals a hidden identity, feared as the beloved dragon child. Suddenly, she breaks through a structure, forcing her way forward with urgency. Danger closes in as she moves fast, pulling someone along to escape the threat. A massive wall rises, blocking destruction while the clash escalates around them. A man raises a solid mud wall, forming a barrier to stop the incoming force. Impact follows immediately, shattering parts of the defense as debris bursts outward. Fragments scatter violently, striking nearby structures and spreading destruction further. The carriage loses control, dragged across the street as the shockwave pushes it aside. Elsewhere, armed men close in while a group retreats through alleys, heading toward a hidden cavern. Two men assess the situation, planning to hold the threat while others prepare to withdraw. Confidence builds between them as one accepts the role, determined to face what comes. Near the carriage, the small girl stands quietly, realizing she is being entrusted with a task. Orders are given as positions are set, keeping certain people behind for safety. Without hesitation, the leader decides to take two along, leaving the rest amid rising tension. The boy nods firmly, accepting the task as urgency spreads among the group below. A new plan emerges as a powerful name is mentioned, shifting the direction of their actions. Elsewhere, unsettling news confirms the cavern's fall, hinting at a greater force approaching. The man departs down the alley, leaving responsibility behind as tension rises further. Above the streets, figures leap across rooftops, moving swiftly as the situation spirals toward chaos. The girl advances alone across the open space, drawing the group's attention as tension sharpens. Those left behind watch closely, unsure yet prepared as they face the approaching threat. The man reveals a tracking method, exposing how their location was discovered so quickly. Pressure builds as he analyzes her power, realizing her strength is far beyond expectation. Without hesitation, she acknowledges everything, confirming she already understands their movements. The boy reacts in shock as the truth about myriad surfaces, unsettling his understanding. He stays composed, deciding to act immediately and make use of what is available. Without warning, he grabs the boy and throws him forward, forcing him into the battle. Power gathers at his fingertips as he releases a precise lightning attack toward the target. The strike curves unpredictably, guided by calculation, closing in as the trap is carefully executed. Lightning attack surges forward, aimed directly at the girl as its power tears through the air. Instead of striking, the attack disappears, leaving only confusion as its presence fades instantly. An unseen force manifests, twisting space around her and erasing the attack completely. The boy is thrown forward, yet her movement remains calm as she reaches out effortlessly. Before impact can land, her hand stops him, turning a fatal strike into nothing. Smoke bursts outward as the boy is pushed back, the impact disrupting his attack. The girl watches calmly while the boy struggles, unable to understand what just happened. Another small girl steps forward, raising her weapon as she prepares to defend and retaliate, identifying him as the source of harm and stepping into the fight. Meanwhile, the man remains composed, showing no intention of retreat despite the growing opposition. At the city gate, movement halts as danger nearby is acknowledged, forcing a change in plans. The young man prepares himself, choosing speed over safety as he readies to move alone. He reflects briefly, comparing strength in this world, while considering how to protect others. Inside the shop, past conversations surface, hinting at earlier requests and hidden concerns, driven by a desire to gain strength and shield those close to her. The girl trains with determination, while others realize strength must be earned through effort. A girl stands in the street, accusing two figures while gripping her shovel. Suddenly, she charges forward with speed, aiming to strike. The man prepares, activating a lightning-based technique. Her attack swings toward him, cutting through the air with force as he braces for impact. At the last moment, his body shifts into lightning, narrowly avoiding the blow. Electricity fades as he reappears behind her, leaving her momentarily stunned, blocking and dodging incoming strikes while watching every movement closely. Her opponent lunges forward, aiming a direct attack with speed and precision. A powerful clash follows, sending force across the street and shaking the surroundings. He regains balance, realizing physical attacks can affect her, and pushes forward with renewed intent. Before he can finish, she rushes again, swinging her shovel and forcing him back. The man struggles to calm the girl as she continues resisting, still upset and unwilling to stop. He quickly lowers himself, offering a sincere apology while another watches in surprise. Hearing his promise, she settles down, her anger fading as she accepts his words. Her thoughts drift to someone absent, quietly reflecting on strength and companionship. Meanwhile, another figure leaves, and the man realizes his attacks failed to harm her. The man observes the girl, considering her strength and believing she could help defeat a greater enemy. He questions her about the strange power she used earlier, trying to understand its nature. Recalling the shattered dungeon door, he points out the unusual force she displayed. Realization dawns on her as she finally understands the meaning behind her title. As she grips her shovel again, he concludes her ability resembles an unstoppable force. The man forms a plan, deciding to confront the enemy first, while assigning the final strike to the girl. With confidence, she raises her shovel, accepting the role without hesitation. Another observer watches, realizing the strength of the group despite lacking experience. The man activates multiple enhancements, preparing for a direct offensive. He moves swiftly around the battlefield, positioning allies while setting up his next action. The woman calmly deflects incoming attacks, her movements precise as she remains unshaken. Observing closely, the man realizes direct force will not slow her and considers another method. He shifts tactics, aiming to restrict her actions while creating an opening to strike. Closing the distance, he launches a deceptive attack, using a feint to mislead her. As expected, she avoids it smoothly, leaving him to adjust his plan again. Both fighters move rapidly, exchanging strikes mid-air as their movements blur across the battlefield. He maintains pressure with steady attacks, forcing her to keep evading without pause. Seizing a moment, he delivers a charged kick infused with lightning. The attack breaks her rhythm, landing cleanly as its speed disrupts her defense. Her body recoils from the impact, while he watches closely, sensing a shift in the fight. The girl steadies herself mid-air, raising her leg while gripping her shovel, preparing a decisive move. Meanwhile, the opponent recognizes her stance, realizing escape is still possible if she maintains balance. Before she can act, the man triggers a trap beneath her, pulling her into a dark, unstable ground. Seeing the opening, he declares victory and urges the girl to finish the attack. She swings down without hesitation, striking the trapped enemy with full force. A young man stands frozen, staring ahead as tension builds around him. In front of him lies a dark pool of blood, causing him to hesitate and assess the situation. He kneels to inspect an item, then begins asking nearby people about a missing girl. An older man provides information, mentioning her recent presence with a suspicious group. Realization strikes, and he rushes off, suspecting a dangerous force behind the incident. The young man rushes forward, urgency clear as he realizes there is no time left. On the ground, the enemy remains trapped while another watches, unable to intervene. The girl brings her shovel down toward the fallen opponent, aiming to end the fight. Shock spreads across the man's face as something unexpected interrupts the strike. Her attack is stopped barehanded, revealing a force strong enough to halt even her power. The woman reacts instantly, catching the incoming strike with sharp focus. Without hesitation, she counters with a direct blow, forcing the girl backward. Momentum breaks as the girl is pushed away, losing control of her weapon. Before she can recover, the woman closes in and drives her downward. A heavy impact follows, slamming her into the ground as the battle shifts again. The girl crashes into the ground, the impact cracking the street while the woman stands over her. Nearby dark liquid spreads as the battlefield falls briefly quiet, and distant figures observe. Realizing the situation, the girl prepares to escape while the man watches in disbelief. Before she can flee, the woman dashes forward and strikes him with force. He endures the hit and activates lightning again, ready to counter. The man dashes repeatedly using lightning, striking from multiple angles in rapid succession. Despite his speed, she counters and lands a decisive hit, tearing through his defense. Pain overwhelms him as he staggers back while she watches with calm control. Even as blood spills, he remains determined, entrusting the outcome to his ally. Both collapse onto the ground, leaving the woman standing alone as the fight reaches its end. A boy stares in shock, realizing the danger unfolding before him. In the distance, the woman moves away, her presence heavy and threatening. Fear grips him as he understands that anyone in her path will be killed. Hearing cries behind him, he resolves to act, refusing to stand still. He runs forward, passing destruction and a severed arm, heading toward the battlefield. The boy senses growing unease as signs of battle intensify around him. Ahead, destruction spreads across the street, revealing fallen figures and deepening his dread. Seeing the girl lying injured, memories and dark emotions begin rising within him. Overcome by those feelings, he rushes toward her, driven by fear and urgency. Across the empty street, the boy discovered Luri Fei collapsed beside a pool of blood and rushed toward her in alarm. Reaching her side, he checked her condition and found that she was still breathing despite a serious wound on her head. While examining the scene, a troubling thought surfaced. Nearby lay a man he recognized from the myriad company, and no witnesses were around. Remembering the man's identity, he considered the danger of leaving him unattended if he regained consciousness. Rather than ignore the threat, he decided to eliminate any future risk before leaving to find help for Luri Fei standing. Over the injured merchant, the boy tightened his grip and prepared to deal with the remaining threat. Suddenly, a beast-eared girl arrived and froze at the sight before her. Shock spread across her face as she noticed Luri Fei lying motionless on the ground. Without hesitation, she rushed forward and tried to reach her companion. The boy quickly stopped her, fearing she would worsen the injury. Moments later, he opened a case filled with healing potions and counted them carefully while searching for a solution. One by one, the potions were applied to Luri Fei as her fate hung in the balance. After several potions were used, Luri Fei finally opened her eyes. Relief washed over the boy as he confirmed she had survived. Dropping his guard, he knelt beside her and checked her condition once more, unable to hide his concern. As her thoughts cleared, Luri Fei assumed he had been the one who rescued her. The boy quickly explained that someone else had played the crucial role. Hearing the truth, she turned toward the beast-eared girl and expressed her gratitude. Tears filled the girl's eyes at the unexpected praise. Overwhelmed by guilt, the girl lowered her head and struggled to accept the thanks directed at her. While the others discussed the incident, the beast-eared girl quietly recalled how Safina had defeated both attackers and saved everyone. Stepping away from the group, she glanced back at the wounded figures on the street before continuing forward alone. Bitterness lingered in her heart as she compared herself to Safina and felt insignificant beside such strength. Even so, thoughts of her captured friends returned. The possibility that they were still suffering refused to leave her mind. Instead of surrendering to despair, determination slowly replaced hesitation. Clutching her weapon tightly, she resolved to act rather than wait for hope to arrive. As she prepared to leave, a sudden realization struck the beast-eared girl and brought her to a halt. Stunned by the thought, she dropped to the ground and struggled to steady herself. Meanwhile, Safina created a deep divide across the street and warned her not to cross it. The overwhelming display of power made the difference between them impossible to ignore. Regret soon flooded her mind. Fear had kept her from helping Kyle and Vita when they needed her most, and the guilt refused to fade. Moments later, new information emerged. Hearing the names Kyle and Vita connected to Myriad's records, after hearing Bayusi's feelings, Luri Fei erased the line in the street and declared that she no longer had to face everything alone. Seeing her determination, Suguto quickly agreed that helping Kyle and Vita was the right choice. Before leaving, Luri Fei poured a healing potion onto the fallen merchant, surprising Suguto with her actions. Rather than seeking revenge, she accepted the man's promise to change and decided to spare him. The conversation soon shifted to Myriad, as details emerged about payments and employment. While discussing Kyle and Vita's situation, Luri Fei insisted that the man who gave her candy could not be completely evil, leaving Suguto doubtful of her judgment. At the same time, new information revealed that their true enemy was Safina, one of the feared Crimson Evils. Guilt weighed heavily on Bei, as she questioned whether she still had the right to help. Suguto reminded her that regret meant nothing if action came too late. Encouraged by those words, Bayu finally set off with renewed determination. Before they could move forward, a shocking request arrived. The Myriad Company had ordered Suguto to eliminate Safina. After hearing the assassination request, Suguto rejected it immediately. The wounded merchant then offered information instead of threats. Meanwhile, Luri Fei revealed that she was burdened by a debt tied to Lesalimer, a detail that changed the discussion. According to the merchant, Safina's actions were connected to that same situation. Her hostility toward Myriad appeared linked to the underground slave trade. Although many details remained unclear, Suguto realized the conflict ran deeper than a simple bounty. Faced with that truth, he turned to Luri Fei and asked the exact size of the debt hanging over her life. When Luri Fei revealed that her debt had reached 4.3 million lark, Suguto finally understood how trapped her life had been under the slave system. Despite those circumstances, she declared her dream of becoming an adventurer and finding a different future. After hearing her story, Suguto accepted the mission to eliminate Safina, provided the reward was enough to buy Luri Fei's freedom. Soon afterward, the group arrived at the entrance of the magical ore cavern, where the promised bounty had risen to 10 million lark. Around the dungeon, adventurers gathered in large numbers as news spread of dangerous mutations hidden within the newly opened depths. While adventurers gathered around the cavern, a powerful figure decided to recruit every capable fighter in Berg for his own purpose. Confident in his wealth, he believed that money could purchase not only strength, but also loyalty, honor, and courage. Suguto's group continued toward the dungeon. Although his wounds had partially healed, the merchant noticed that Suguto was still pushing himself despite his condition. As the journey continued, Suguto quietly calculated their odds and realized victory against Safina remained unlikely. Questioned about his plan, he offered no clear answer. Even the much-praised unstoppable force had already failed, leaving their path forward uncertain. During the journey, Luri Fei proudly demonstrated her shovel by driving it through a rock, though the result impressed no one. Bayu then pointed out that a shovel was never meant to be a weapon. Her comment sparked a realization in Suguto's mind. Acting on that thought, he asked Luri Fei to strike a nearby tree instead of a stone. To everyone's surprise, the shovel bounced harmlessly off the trunk. The strange result suggested it worked differently against living things and objects. Luri Fei continued insisting that her beloved shovel was the greatest tool imaginable, while Suguto focused on the mystery behind its unusual power. Standing before the massive tree, Suguto carefully examined it while considering the strange nature of Lorifi's shovel. After a moment of thought, he asked her to strike the tree once again and watched closely for any difference. Memories of Safina's overwhelming strength resurfaced in his mind. Even together, he and Lorifi had been powerless against her. Nevertheless, Lorifi swung her shovel into the trunk, with all her strength determined to prove its worth. As the ground trembled beneath them, Suguto realized the shovel's true ability was far more dangerous than they had imagined. After witnessing the fallen tree, Lorifi listened as a new possibility began to take shape. Recognizing the shovel's true potential, Suguto concluded that working together might finally give them a chance to survive the challenges ahead.